Welcome everybody, this is Rob Ainscough here. I thought I'd go over the release for P3D version 5. As most of you know by now, it has a few issues, a few bugs here and there. But I firmly believe that the P3D version 5 has a lot of potential, even if it has a lot of issues right now. Just to give you some quick background, I am on Lockheed's prepared beta team. I've been on it since version 2. I was actually the first person to get access, other than the developers, to version 5, primarily because I'm also a moderator on the Lockheed Martin forums. I am also a developer. I have access to Microsoft's Tech Alpha. I also have access to Microsoft's Tech Alpha developer forum and SDK. But I unfortunately cannot mention anything about Microsoft's upcoming flight simulator until it's been released, obviously, due to non-disclosure agreements. But since P3D version 5 has been officially released, I can go ahead and talk about it. So anyway, as you can see here, I'm flying over, this is Orbix, Netherlands, and I believe I have pretty much, well, every single setting set to max, and the frame rate is fairly consistent, 30, a couple of dips here and there to 28. Now one of the advantages is that DirectX 12 has been the improved performance, and also some improved visuals. Specifically, P3D have added True Sky, which is what they call their atmospheric enhancements, which is currently been tagged as beta. Now you might wonder why a purchased product has something in it tagged as beta. I did too, but obviously Lockheed feel that it was something that needed to be released. So it was released with the beta tag next to the enhanced atmospherics. I don't know if anyone's familiar with True Sky. It's made by a company called Simul, S-I-M-U-L. They have an SDK which you can actually purchase for a relatively reasonable price. I think it's around £75 sterling, up to £250 sterling, depending on what you want and plan to do with it. It's has a lot of potential. Lockheed right now aren't using all of its potential, but it certainly has the potential. I'm almost certain Lockheed will be enhancing True Sky as they progress over the months to improve it. It can do a lot from rain, snow, rainbows, and along with the much touted God rays, which currently is there, but it's a fairly primitive implementation. In fact, if you can see here at Chicago, this little dark line across the top of the building here, that is another dark line there, that is God rays. They're a little difficult to spot. Like I said, it's definitely a work in progress. So yeah, here I am. This is Chicago. This is, let me see, Dres Ecke Designs Chicago. And this is the Coronado S330. And as you can see, the new NVIDIA WaveWorks action below the aircraft there, the white caps on the waves. This is NVIDIA's WaveWorks version 2. Again, it's got a lot of potential, and I'm pretty sure Lockheed are going to allow for that potential to be opened up later on. Certainly with shoreline waves and things like that. So, again, Lockheed are building a platform here for the future that can certainly be unlocked, or hopefully can be unlocked by developers as time progresses, and these features are made available to us to tweak and adjust and turn into a nice looking simulation. So here I am, this is in the default F-16 at KC, Seattle here. Again, this is Dres Icky, I think that's how you pronounce it. Designs Seattle City and their Seattle airport. Once again, the frame rate is maxed out. I mean, the graphic settings are maxed out. My frame rate is locked to my monitor, which is currently at 30 hertz. I did recently purchase a new LG C9 monitor, which is an OLED monitor that has G-Sync support with the appropriate firmware. Just a quick tip for those out there. I'll get into this into another video, but Lockheed are natively supporting G-Sync now, but there's a lot of things that means, and I'll go over that in a separate video. But for now, this is KC. I believe this is just a default fair weather setting. It looks pretty good. There are a couple issues here and there, but performance-wise, it's fairly solid. As you can see, I've got AI traffic going, road traffic going. Also, AI traffic is enabled, but there's some issues with getting it to initiate or work correctly. In some airports it works, some it doesn't, so I'm kind of looking into that. As far as additional tweaks, I do have a couple of extra tweaks here. Those are the ones I've discussed in other videos. One of them is setting the texture size EXP to equal to 10, which is why my VRAM usage, as you can see in the upper left hand corner, this one that says RAM is actually the video RAM. That's pretty high. It's around 15. I think worst case I got it up to it's around 13, 12, 13. I did manage to get up to about 15. But again, that's primarily because I've added my tweaks for increasing the texture resolution. Also, there's a few other settings, such as the allocation of memory for the texture loading distance. I've got those tweaks in there as well. So pretty much, with the exception of maybe some shadow tweaks, I really have loaded this test up here, and I mean really loaded. I can't think of any option I don't have selected. Maybe perhaps the terrain reflections, although there are some issues around that, but that's something LM are working on. But if you notice, our agendas stay there. The texture resolution, the ground terrain texture is fairly high quality. I personally like these atmospherics. You can see in the distance there, I believe that's Mount Rainier as we're approaching Seattle. It does have, there were some changes to PBR settings that will need to get updated for those aircraft that support PBR, otherwise it might come out a little bit too dark. They've moved to a linear color space, which is more in line with other games that or simulators that are implementing PBR. As you can see, there's a couple issues there with the shadow reflections. They're a bit late to draw. or I should say a bit late to render. And as I come across issues, I post them on LM's beta forum, and they do acknowledge and they do look at issues, and they'll continue to look at issues. And Prepare 3D is, it's going to evolve over time. I'll be perfectly honest with you, it was released before I thought it should have been released, or I and a few other developers thought it should have been released, but Lockheed have their own reasons for that. I did the best I could as far as cautioning them as to whether it being ready or not. Ultimately, that's their decision, not ours. And, it has some really good moments. There are a few issues here and there. But I think the good moments outweigh the bad moments, for me anyway. The performance alone is pretty staggering. I just can't believe how much of an object density and distance I can draw now, and still locked to my monitor's refresh rate, which is 30. That's why you see the frame rate there, pretty much well locked at 30. Again, I have another video where I go into the G-Sync thing where the frame rates will be higher, but I'm not going to get into that here. This is just really my personal feelings and showing you some of the graphics from products that have already been actually updated to Prepare 3D version 5. They have their own native installers, with perhaps the exception of these Carinado aircraft that I'm flying right now. I had to kind of manually wrangle those into version 5. They seem to work for the most part. A couple of issues here and there, but nothing too major. Obviously, I'm waiting for the more complex aircraft like the PMDGs and the FS Labs and the Aerosoft's A330s, and CRJ, and of course Majestic's Q400. I'm really looking forward to trying those out now that I'm able to turn up just about every single graphics option. See how those aircraft work with high loads. Now, as you can see, if you increase your frequency, monitor frequency to 60, you'll increase your GPU usage. As you can see right now, I'm running around 68 here in New York, 68% GPU. As you increase your frame rate, you're going to increase your GPU load. You're also going to, which may or may not work for some people. Now we have a balance that is probably more heavily on the GPU side than it was before. So the CPU is still working hard, but it doesn't seem to be the bottleneck. Now it's probably a pretty good balance actually between CPU and GPU, considering I've got everything maxed out, and I'm running some highly detailed third-party add-ons that in prior versions Prepare 3D they basically I'd be looking at 7 to 15 FPS rather than a nice solid locked at 30. And when I unlock it, I'm looking at between 40 and 60 FPS, even with everything maxed out. So the move to DX12 was definitely the right move, and I can see reasons why Lockheed may have kind of rushed this out the door, because they wanted to get it in people's hands, more people's hands. So it is what it is. Like you said, it's going to improve. There are going to be hot fixes. We are working on hot fixes right now. There may be a few. And there will be future versions, Rolling 5 and the version 5.1 and the version 5.2. Although obviously Lockheed don't officially commit to that, but I'm pretty sure they're going to be there creating new versions, because there's so much potential here. Certainly from True Sky and from the NVIDIA way it works, and from what DX12 brings to the table. So, what I would say is, bought it, hang in there. It will get updated. Those kind of holding back, waiting for things to stabilize. I can completely understand that decision, and hopefully it'll get to the point where those holding back will want to jump in and find themselves in a very high-performing, visually stunning flight simulator. With that said, where we are right now, I believe we're back to Seattle again, and this is I believe I'm in the AT Coronato's A42 500, and I think I did this test here just to get an idea of a different weather setting. This is I believe their cold fronts setting. There are some bugs with the weather. Sometimes the clouds just don't render at all. Again, LM had been notified and they are looking into it. Hopefully they'll get that fixed. And there are some issues with the themes. Sometimes they render to what you would expect for the weather theme. Sometimes they don't. But again, this is a work in progress, and hopefully the enhanced atmospherics or True Sky will eventually come out of its beta status and be official. In my humble opinion, it looks a lot better, and I'm anxious to see what various third-party weather engines can do with it. Right now, the weather I'm setting here, this is just basic default stuff. But when you can actually get a company like Hi-Fi or Rex or others that could manipulate the clouds and create the necessary weather stations, I'm sure we're going to see some pretty interesting cloud formations. There is information going around falsely that True Sky can only work with one cloud layer. That is not accurate at all. You can test that out yourself. Actually, just simply go into the custom weather and create 5 or however many cloud layers you want. True Sky will render them. So there's no one cloud layer limit. There's as many as you want. The only word of caution there is don't set your cloud textures to their ultra setting. I would set them at high. Ultra is going to be very hard on the GPU, especially if you have a lot of weather. You can try it, see how it goes, but I found that the high and ultra provide almost the same visuals. But again, it's a work in progress. True Sky is, so we'll see how that works out. And I'm fairly anxious to see how these weather engines can make it work even better. So, let me see, what else do I have to cover here? Not much. I would love to do a video of Microsoft's Flight Simulator, but obviously I can't. There's lots of good stuff in there. There's lots of issues in there too, so we'll just have to see how that pans out. And we also have X-Plane 11. And its Vulkan update, which is looking promising also. It has some bugs and issues and compatibility issues with various add-ons, so we'll have to wait for that to get updated. I'm sure when it's released, I'll do when Vulkan comes out of its beta status, and my add-ons or plugins work with it. I'll probably do a video on that as well, because it's certainly worth a video. It's another great platform that has lots of potential going forward. So maybe 2020 started out as a fairly rough year for flight simulators, but I think it's going to shape up to be, by the end of the year, certainly to be a great new frontier for those of us that are into flight simulations. Not entirely sure if it's how many new users it's going to bring into the market, but we can always hope. Personally, I think the flight simulation market is a fairly established, known entity of users. But if Microsoft can bring in more, great. You know, all the more, the merrier. But we'll just have to wait and see. So either way, I'd say hang in there. Flight simulators are coming. They are going to get better, and we're going to have lots of options. And it looks like, I would say by end of year, everybody will be happy as a clam with their flight simulator of choice, wherever it may be. And that's really all from me. Sorry for my jibber jabber of this particular video. Hopefully you enjoyed some of the backdrop in my flights here. These are all done in obviously prepared 3D version 5. The release build, which is 34709. I haven't moved into shown any beta builds. I'm not actually sure if we're still under NDA for beta builds or not, but I haven't actually shown any yet. So with that said, I'm going to sign off, and I'll let you enjoy my landing here. Although I know that most of my videos, the watch duration is 24%, so which is below the national average for YouTube, which I think is around 50% watch duration. So I know a lot of you aren't going to be making it to the end of this video. I haven't shown any graphic settings here. They're pretty much what they've always been with my V5. I have everything maxed out, including reflections, with perhaps the exception of terrain reflections. The performance has been exceptional, so that's kind of where I leave it. So if you've made it to this end of this video, congratulations, and here's a okay landing, I guess. Perhaps no, it's a decent landing. I actually don't know the stall speed for this aircraft, but it looks like I got pretty close to it. Anyway, so enjoy your flight sims, whatever they may be. This is just a quick me blabbering away over version 5, and hopefully you stick around for its potential, and enjoy your simming. Thank you.